My name is Jeffrey Smith, and I'm the author of Genetic Roulette, the documented health risks of genetically engineered foods, and Seeds of Deception, exposing industry and government lies about the safety of the genetically engineered foods you're eating. I'm also the executive director of the Institute for Responsible Technology, which is spearheading the campaign for healthier eating in America and now supporting the campaign for healthier eating in Canada. We have designed a campaign to end the genetic engineering of the food supply, not by begging the government to do it for us, but by understanding that consumers are on the top of the food chain. So we need to equip ourselves with the knowledge. A GMO is a genetically modified organism where they take a gene from one species and they forcibly insert it into the DNA of another species. So you could take a gene from bacteria or viruses and put it into the food supply. And it causes massive collateral damage in the DNA, causing mutations, hundreds or thousands of mutations through the process of insertion and then cloning that into a plant. Genes can be permanently turned off or permanently turned on. I'm talking about natural genes existing in the plant. Hundreds can change the levels of expression. Any one of these changes could create allergies, toxins, new diseases, and nutritional problems, which are exactly the four things that the FDA scientists said could happen. We know that because documents were made public from a lawsuit showing that these were their concerns. Now already, more than half of Americans say they would avoid eating GMOs if given the choice. But just for a little extra motivation, let's talk about some of the health dangers that you may want to avoid. Soon after genetically engineered soy was introduced to the UK, soy allergies skyrocketed by 50%. When rats were fed genetically engineered soy, the male testicles changed color. When females were fed GM soy, more than half of their offspring died within 3 weeks, compared to only 10% death rate when the mothers were fed non-GM soy. The corn that's genetically engineered to produce a Bt toxin, a pesticide in every bite and in every cell, might be allergenic and toxic. That same toxin is engineered into cotton, and thousands of farm workers in India are reporting allergic reactions just touching the Bt cotton. Bt is that Bacillus thuringiensis, or a bacteria, where they take the gene from that bacteria, put it into the corn and cotton to produce this toxin. They allow animals to graze on the cotton after harvest. Thousands of sheep, buffalo, and goats have died. Others have gotten sick with reproductive problems after eating the genetically modified cotton plants. About 24 farmers complain that the certain varieties of Bt corn caused sterility in their pigs or cows. Some pigs had pseudo-pregnancies or gave birth to bags of water. The only human feeding study ever conducted shows that the genes that have been inserted into soybeans actually transferred into the DNA of the bacteria inside our intestines and continued to function. Now, what happens if you eat a genetically engineered corn chip, engineered to produce the toxic pesticide? What if the gene that produces the toxin turns up inside the DNA of the bacteria in your intestine? You have a living pesticide factory inside you. Do I need to go on? How about the rigged research? How industry carefully defines and designs its studies to avoid finding problems? Or about the completely superficial and ridiculous methods of approval by the United States government and Canada. I'll tell you what happened in the United States. The person in charge of policy at the FDA was Monsanto's former attorney and later their vice president. While he was in charge, the policy came out saying, the agency's not aware of any information that's showing GMOs are significantly different. Therefore, no safety testing is necessary. On that basis, just put it on the market and trust Monsanto. It turns out that sentence claiming no ignorance of differences was a lie. The overwhelming consensus among the FDA's own scientists were that GMOs were inherently dangerous and could create allergies, toxins, new diseases, and nutritional problems. They had urged their superiors to require studies, but were ignored because the political appointees were under orders from the White House to promote biotechnology, and as I said, the person in charge was Monsanto's former attorney and later Monsanto's vice president. Monsanto, of course, is the largest biotechnology company serving our food. So we're supposed to trust them that our foods are safe. The same company that told us Agent Orange was safe, or PCBs were safe, or DDT is safe. And they're in charge of doing the studies to tell us if our food is safe. If you look at Health Canada's website, they make the most ridiculous, unscientific assumptions and approve things based on those faulty assumptions. Scientists have looked in detail at their approval process. It's not based on science. It's based on theory and it's based on outdated, disproven theory. So we have to take back food sovereignty around food safety in our own lives. We can't trust Health Canada, we can't trust the FDA, and we certainly can't trust Monsanto and the other 4 biotech companies about the safety of their foods. So we need to choose healthier non-GM foods ourselves and for our families. And so I would like to charge you with not only protecting yourself with non-GMO products, passing it on to others, and being part of this tipping point. And then we've already demonstrated our capacity to kick GMOs out in Europe, for example, where within a single week, virtually every major food company committed to stop using GM ingredients once the tipping point of consumer rejection had been achieved. Tipping point. A small percentage of consumers can end the genetic engineering of the food supply by themselves making healthier non-GMO choices. We think as little as 5% of the consumers in North America have the power to drive GMOs out of the entire food supply. Because when Kraft Food and the other major companies see a drop in market share and see a trend, they'll realize that using GMOs is not a healthy thing for their bottom line. We already know it's not a healthy thing for our bottom line. Now, how do we help people avoid GMOs? How do we reach that 5% of consumers? We have enough people already in the health-conscious shopper, where 28 million Americans buy organic food on a regular basis, 54 million on an irregular basis. We have parents of young children who are very concerned about the foods they buy for them. We have doctors and healthcare professionals prescribing non-GMO diets. And there's religious organizations which believe that GMO means God move over, but have never leveraged their buying capacity by giving their members choices for non-GM products. What is key is choice, and the governments have refused to require labeling. So we have produced a non-GMO shopping guide available at healthiereating.org, which empowers you to walk up and down the aisles and select the products for healthier non-GMO products. And we have an electronic version of that shopping guide, and we expect tens of millions of visitors over the next few months. And the shopping guides that we produce are available free through natural food stores. There's also a Canadian version through Greenpeace on the website there, and both are available for download. But in addition to the shopping guide, we need to motivate people to make that choice, to change their lifelong eating habits and switch brands to the non-GMO brand. The reason why GMOs are on the market is because most people don't know that they're eating them. 75% of Americans don't even realize that GMOs are in the food supply. And I'm sure that's similar in Canada. We can't wait for the government to protect us. We have to protect us. And I return to the initial charge. That is, by removing GMOs from your diet, by sharing this information with others, we get a small percentage of people who avoid the brands that contain the GM ingredients, and they're kicked out of the market. So what are the GM ingredients? There's 8. 8 genetically modified foods. Soy, corn, and by the way, the derivatives of soy and corn are practically omnipresent. Sugar beets, and the sugar in North America. Canola oil, cottonseed oil, Hawaiian papaya, and a little bit of zucchini and crookneck squash. So in order to avoid it, you may have to avoid using canola oil unless it says organic or non-GMO, or using soybean oil, or buying things with soy lecithin, or high fructose corn syrup. But believe me, our health, our longevity, our family, we're worth it. And also, by eliminating GMOs, we not only eliminate it from our food supply, but we start to protect the environment, because this stuff is not only being fed to the entire population, the self-propagating genetic pollution persists in the environment as long as the species persists. So we can't fully clean it up right now. We can certainly minimize it, but we need to pull the plug on this so they stop introducing more and more species. Because right now it can outlast the effects of global warming and nuclear waste and the effect of wide-scale genetic pollution. So it's time to take back our food supply, and we can do it right away. Safe eating.